All right, welcome back to another episode of the Gym Business Coach Podcast. I'm going to be your host today, Randy Angston, joined with Zach Columbia.
Yo. It's hard to say still. It's like
It doesn't roll off the tongue yet. Yeah.
It's like when you enter a new year and you always like write the previous year. It's the
Exactly.
same thing. So obviously for everybody listening, it's like we are rebranding from Built to Grow podcast to the Gym Business Coach podcast. So still
It's still fresh.
It's still fresh. It's still fresh.
You've got a great topic for today. Why don't you kind of lead things off and we'll just dive right in.
Yeah. So this is a very, there's a lot of depth to this problem, but one of the reasons why I think gyms struggle to attract customers and to speak to the audience is because they never had the same problem as the customers that they're trying to speak to.
Sure. Okay.
So if you think about like how most business owners start or entrepreneurs, kind of start and open their own businesses, they recognize a problem or they have a problem themselves and they essentially go searching for a solution and they can't find a solution. And so they're like, well, since a solution doesn't exist, since there's no business or product or service that can help me solve this, I'm going to create it myself. And so they find or they create a solution. Once they create it for themselves and it works, then they feel driven, compelled to solve that same problem for other people.
Yeah.
And so then they go and start a business. And it kind of goes like the term is like their mess becomes their message, essentially. It's like, hey, this was my mess and now I have this message that I'm portraying or I'm putting out there to everyone. And really what that does is not only does it orient kind of the first principles of your business, but it creates gravity.
Okay.
And so when you have a single problem that you solve in your business, that's what you're known for. And when you speak that message to the marketplace, now it attracts people to you. It pulls people to you. And if you look at the current landscape of the industry, it's the business, the gym owner chasing the customers instead of attracting the customers.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And it's because there's multiple layers to this, but if you just think about it, your typical gym owner, they've never been fat,
Out of shape, overweight.
They've never, maybe they were an athlete and they were super passionate about fitness and they got into weight training and then they, became a personal trainer and then they opened a gym. And it's like, how is that person supposed to, communicate
Or relate to.
to a 65-year-old woman that's like an ideal client for them, or a guy that was an athlete in high school and then got busy with life, had kids, stopped working out, prioritized their career, and now 20 years later is trying to get back in shape. And it's not that you intellectually don't understand the problem.
Sure.
But at a personal level, you are not like resonating.
You're empathizing. It's not like a direct match, right?
Yes,
yeah. You haven't experienced it yourself.
Exactly. And so there's this major disconnect that just exists between like a gym owner, a trainer, and the marketplace. And so, there's multiple components to this. One would be if you look at a typical gym, and you ask the gym owner, hey, what problem do you solve? Their their answer is going to be, we solve multiple problems.
Yeah, we can help anybody.
We can help anybody solve multiple problems.
Yeah.
If you solve multiple problems, you'll be known for none,
It's
for no
the
solutions.
jack of all trades, master of none, right?
Yes, exactly. And so if you're like, well, yeah, I'm a, trainer, I understand fitness. I can train a youth athlete. I can train the, 45-year-old, female. I can train the 65-year-old, grandma. And so most gyms, if you look at their clientele, it's this full like spectrum. There's no like avatar that they've created. And it's because they didn't have that mess that then became their message. And they started the business to solve this one specific problem. And so they're just trying to solve the problem for everyone.
For anybody, yeah, really. Yeah, and we talk about it a lot. Like gym owners, the natural progression, right, is probably a trainer somewhere, got your reps in. Maybe you were a manager or something along those lines, and you felt that the next natural progression's opening up the gym. Skill sets change. When you're developing a team, it's not the same as getting your results for your client and all of the things that come along with the business side of it too. But I love this message because, we talk all the time about knowing who you serve, knowing your clientele. There's that old saying, there's niches in the rich, or there's riches in the niches.
Yes.
But when it comes to this industry, it is very difficult is in the grand scheme of things, right, to attract the right individuals to a business. And I think one of those big overlying issues is exactly what you're talking about. They're trying to serve everybody, so their marketing message is then kind of mute, right? It doesn't resonate with the person that they're actually most capable of serving, or the person that, if you looked at your business, I'm sure we know, right? Look at the clientele that you have. What is their commonalities? And when you define your avatar client, it's a lot more than, age, gender, and, location or demographic type of thing, right? It's buying practices. It's their internal beliefs. There's a lot of things that go into it that the better you know that avatar, I think that's the difference between pursuing or chasing versus attracting, right? You could speak to those types of clients and just those types of clients, and it kind of opens up the floodgates, right? Everybody then recognizes, hey, they're the ones that train these people, this clients. It's you could look at like an athletic performance facility, right? The average Gen Pop individual is probably not walking in there, but you look at your normal gym or a normal training facility. Are they speaking to who they serve, or are they trying to just throw it out there and accept anybody? And I'd say the majority of them are kind of lost as to how to go about speaking to their avatar client.
Yeah. And if you think about, let's just take like an attorney, a lawyer, for example. If you were doing a real estate deal, you don't just go get an attorney, you get a real estate attorney.
That's a good point, right?
They specify,
Specialized?
They specialize, thank you. They specialize in that, in that world.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you get in a car accident, you go get an accident attorney. So you look at our industry, it's like you can't just serve everyone. And you have to know who you're solving the problem for, and then speak to that person. And this comes back to the model, because if we look at like, hey, I'm trying to make it as a large group model, man, I need 500 people.
Yeah, right.
It's really hard. If we're talking about the riches or in the niches, it's like, man, how do I speak to, in my local area within like a 5-mile radius, or 10-mile radius? How do I speak to 500 people that only have that one problem? Yeah. But if you look at like a semi-private training model, now it's like, well, I really only need 130 to 200 clients to absolutely like blow it out of the water.
Yeah.
So now it makes it much easier for me to direct all of my messaging towards that specific problem. and speak to those people. And this comes back to this major challenge that we're seeing globally with like Facebook ads. In agencies, and people are like, Facebook ads aren't working for me anymore, and I'm really struggling to attract customers and all of that. Well, just from a pure marketing standpoint, guys, this is really simple. You have hook, story, offer. And what is missing is the story for just about every gym out there.
I would agree.
So again, going back to the first principles, the origin of like why you started a business, what problem are you trying to solve? Well, for somebody that had a mess, they solved it, and now they have the solution for somebody that matches them. There's a story there. There's a natural story that just like hits home with people, that's relatable, that's genuine and authentic. If you look at the agency model, it's hook offer.
Yep.
There's no story that is relatable, at least not that's genuine and authentic. And you look at the nature of our business, and it's so intimate and relationship driven that without that component, even if you do, which is getting harder, but even if you do just hook and offer somebody and you get them to take action, that doesn't create this identity association between the business and the customer. And so they might not stick. They might churn at an early point in the business, even if they do sign up, because they're, people want to do business with where they share mutual beliefs. And so it's really creating a lot of problems on, multiple different layers for gyms out there. Yeah,
no, I think you're speaking to it in a great way, right? We're talking retention issues. We're talking about the issues attracting new business. I mean, this is going to have its fingers in every layer of the business. Let's talk about one of the things we talk about all the time is the lifestyle client versus the transformation client, right? Yeah. This is where I think some of the listeners might kind of, I don't want to say get confused, but they might have a hard time understanding the difference. Like what, if I overcame something, or if I had my story, or or maybe it's not their story, but maybe it's like their first, handful of clients. You know what I mean? Like if they themselves didn't experience that type of challenge, lean on those types of stories, right? What transformations? I said transformations. What type of? Well, and it could be a transformation, right? Identity shift, that type of thing. Let's just, for sake of example, let's say the busy executive that hasn't been in a gym for years and now is the loyal, avid gym goer that's getting the results that they want for their life, and it's not necessarily the number on the scale, right? But sharing that, being able to share that story, how in finding your message, should you or can you do it in a way that doesn't isolate you to just start then instantly go to like the transformation? I did it again, like the weight loss type client. You know what I mean? Because I think most of the clients that we serve that are lifestyle have kind of that moving goalpost, right? They want to move better, feel better, prevent injury, all of the things. But how do we do that in a way that's not talking about, hey, get started now and lose 30 pounds in the next 90 days,
Yeah, well, we all were spoiled at one point.
Sure.
Because you could do that, and then you could get 50 new people.
Yeah.
And so what's really important for everybody to understand is that there's a framework of how you speak to the audience, and it doesn't matter what the platform is that you're speaking on. Guys, like there will come a point in time where Facebook is not a thing anymore.
Sure.
Whatever. I mean, you look at like AOL or instant messenger. You know, like there was
you're still not in those chats.
There was
those chat
MySpace.
rooms.
AIM, dude. AIM. Yeah. AIM. Wow, just aged myself.
The ASL,
I don't know,
baby, right?
But you had MySpace, right? And then Facebook, and like young kids aren't on Facebook, or young kids, teenagers, early 20s, like they're not on Facebook. Some of them don't even have Instagram, you know, these days. It's TikTok. It's, I don't know, like the next generation probably be on Sora, where there's just, it's all AI and there aren't even real, you know, human beings or whatever. It's just going to continue. The platform is going to continue to change. And so it's, well, how do we build a bulletproof message that the hook can change? We can, you know, throw different hooks out there. The story has to tie back to the avatar that we serve. And then the offer, we can adjust our offers, right? We can, you know, make them seasonal, or, you know, throw different variations or A/B tests out there to see what hits. But we cannot just hook offer. That doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. The marketplace is skeptical. They've seen it overly saturated with that. And so, you know, it doesn't, again, like the ideal scenario is like, here was my, you know, mess that I turned into my message, and I tell that story. If you don't have that, you still have a story. Sure. Everybody has a story. And so how do you make that story or communicate that story in a way that just hits home with the audience? It could be, hey, I started out as you know, a young trainer thinking that I wanted to train professional athletes. And guess what? I did. And it was not all that it was cracked up to be. And then I remember like working with this client that was, you know, throw a name in there that matches the age, you know, Barb. I was working with Barb, and let me tell you about Barb and the changes that we saw. And Barb came in and she, you know, didn't want to work out. She was scared, and she had tried 50 different things and never stuck with them. And here's the process that we took her through. And so you're telling the story of that person that's reading it in, you know, through like your own story. And now it's like, that's me.
It's me. You're speaking to me.
They can help me. They can solve my problem. That's what they do. Oh, here's a, you know, get started now offer. Let me learn more about this. Let me take action. That takes effort and work. It's totally different than me just being like, here's a fancy hook, here's a whatever discounted free week, what offer, like click the button. And agencies, like the agency model of what it has been, I think it's starting to change, and they're moving towards coaching now and everything, because that's the only way that they can really, you know, keep people around. It's like, hey guys, where you been? We've been doing that since whatever, 2016. But the agency cannot tell your story. They cannot tell your story.
Or create or manufacture, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's never going to be that genuine connection that speaks to the audience. And I think that is really the missing link in the marketplace as it is now, the landscape of the marketplace, that's making it so difficult for gyms to attract and keep people. And so, you know, like there's lots of books and there's lots of resources out there to become learn how to copyright and these things. You know, we teach a lot of the nuts and bolts of that in our Springboard program. But if most gym owners just won't make the time, they're so desperate to just get a quick buck that they won't make the time to sit down and create that story, or when they do create that story, they don't know how to then
present it, bring it up,
put it out there.
Yeah.
You know, where to put it. So,
and I think that's a lot of what we're seeing is a lot of gym owners are acting out of desperation for that next new sale. And unfortunately, I think that's where agencies kind of get gym owners like hooked into it, because like they promise the world, you know, you get started with them and then they're telling you what the hook and the offer should be that might not even align with what you do in your business. And the next thing you know, it's this revolving door of like, I need to switch the hook and the offer all of the time. And it kind of puts you back into that red ocean consistently, where you're just competing with everybody else saying the same thing, and it's a muted message. When if you tell your story and you understand and grasp these concepts, that's one of the things like the way that we coach it. I mean, we don't do our when we talk about marketing and when we coach gym owners on marketing, you know, it's not like, hey, here's the image, here's the copy. It's not that simple. Like if it was that easy, there wouldn't be all the agencies. Everybody would be doing it for themselves, and we'd all, you know, have a constant line of clients come through the door. But I think the real benefit to understanding this stuff is when you have the ability to create that story, share that message, really understand that, it puts you into that blue ocean, right? You become the one of one that serves this demographic, this type, you know, this avatar client. And then the gym down the street really can't compete at that against you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Their story is going to be different there if they even have a story for themselves. And so it's like one of those things that like, it's a solution that has legs. It will last. It will work as long as you continue to, I mean, the medium might change, your hook and your offer might change, but ultimately you have to take ownership of that message, that marketing message, and it should resonate with your story. It should be who you serve and how you get that client a result.
And you can't tell it once. So I know it's going to happen. People are going to listen to this and be like, okay, like that makes sense to me. I'm going to go, you know, write an email and send it out. And then it's like, that was the effort that you put out there. This has to be ingrained in your brand. And so like your brand awareness campaign or strategy has to tie back into that origin story or that, you know, problem that you solve. And every component of it has to speak to your ideal avatar customer, or, you know, customers with some minor changes. So like you could say, hey, we serve, whatever, the 45 to 60 year old. One of those avatars could be a female version and one of them could be a male version, and you can speak to both separately. And the beauty of a platform like Facebook is like, well, I can target the female with this copy, with this story. I can target the males with this copy. But again, it all has to be the same kind of solution, just a different like story to help them, you know, understand. But I would also say, and we say it all the time, is like, don't underestimate the task at hand, because like for instance, Jolie yesterday, she said, hey, did you know it's Quitter's Day? So Quitter's Day is like a middle of January thing. It's like a nationally known as Quitter's Day, where people give up I guess that the masses give up on their New Year's resolution. And she goes, do you think we should do a text blast about that? And I was like, well, what do you know, like, give me more information, put something together. And so she gives me a text message, and it was like, hey, it's, you know, Quitter's Day. And, you know, have you given up on your New Year's resolution? We're, you know, get our $99 2-week offer. And I was like, no. Number one is you're basically calling everybody a quitter. So instead of us placing the reason that they have failed on their previous approaches and programs, and positioning our solution
yeah.
as the reason they didn't have our solution. That's why they haven't been successful. Instead of doing that, you're attacking their character.
Their
That's the way
identity,
they're
yeah.
going to see it.
Sure.
You are not putting yourself in Miss Johnson's shoes right now reading this.
Good call.
So that's number one. So the whole positioning of the message is wrong, right? Number two is there's nothing in there about our solution that differentiates us. It's one message, not a strung out story of messages that you deliver over 5 days in an email campaign, which would be the right way to do it, by the way. And then what was the other? And then there's just an offer. You go straight to the offer. So the hook in nature is wrong. It's like you're a quitter.
Yep.
No story and then offer, right? And she's never done any like marketing like this, which is, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to teach you. And we just sat in there for like an hour and I was walking her through all this. But that's also a pretty good representation of how most gym owners just think and react versus like, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it all out.
Yeah.
I got to write that email, that 5 email campaign that catches attention and then, leaves in a cliffhanger that's going to say, hey, here the rest of this, the next thing tomorrow, I'll send you an email at 8 a.m. And then over the course of 5 days, we build this shared identity of that person of like, I got to work with those people because I love their story.
Yeah. And they understand what I'm going through.
Yeah.
They get it. Yeah. It's a great point. Going back to like the underestimating the task at hand. I think that's the biggest issue is we just lob things out there and we expect that the masses just are going to resonate with it. And it's just not the case.
Yeah.
And
you could have you could also have a great story and it might not match your model, right?
Sure.
Like I'm not going to be like, I got into fitness, to help people. And I found that I was, working with people that had injuries and then you bring them in and they're in a group class jumping on boxes with 20 other people. There has to be congruency there as well, because if there's not, you just, you're
missing the mark.
They're not gonna convert, and if they do convert, they're not gonna stick.
And that brings up another. I mean, just we could probably wrap things up on that, but the congruency between your beliefs as the owner that is your story, the type of training you yourself believe in, this type of training you do for yourself.
Yeah.
Is there congruency with what you're bringing to the marketplace in your model, right? We know a lot of gym owners that, run group training facilities.
Chest on Monday.
And then Monday is chest day, right? So, no, this is a great episode. I mean, it definitely gets the gears turning. I highly recommend kind of stepping back, looking at your business, looking at your journey, what got you started, what was the solution that you wanted to bring to the marketplace. But even more so, maybe that has changed. Maybe the who you serve today is not the who you thought you would be serving when you started your business.
There's a story there.
There you go, right? And but craft a better story, write a better story, write a story maybe for the first time, and then it'll help differentiate you in the marketplace. It'll help you your client, your potential clients, your prospects identify with who you serve. To a much more finite position, and it will absolutely change the game. Now, is this the one shiny bullet thing that's going to solve all the problems when it comes to marketing? No, but
that doesn't exist.
That doesn't exist exactly. But this will definitely put you in a position to where it doesn't matter the agency you're working with. If you're running ads in house, Zach kind of gave you the formula between hook, story, and offer. If you have those components, you have a much more viable chance at earning that business, getting the win, differentiating yourself from the ads of your competitors down the street. And ultimately, we want to see you guys win. So take this to your business, do a little research, little
Soul searching.
Soul search, maybe. Yeah, there you go. And craft a better message. So maybe use this as a little bit of homework between now and next week and see what it does for you and your business. But anything else to add?
No.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Gym Business Podcast. We'll see you on the next show.
All right. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Built to Grow podcast. If you want more help growing your business, join our free Facebook group, Profit Accelerator, helping training gyms grow to $30,000 a month and beyond. We'd love to see you there. Go check out the show notes for the link and keep building something great. And we'll see you in the next episode.